Hi, everybody. We're here with ECE Disruptors live chat. I have our very own Dr. Robert Gundling with his, what do we have? Are we at 54 years or 53? I know it's been counting. I'm
Um, 74. 52.
52. Look, I'm
Well, I
already
mean, if we're going to be really technical, I started before I got my job in kindergarten. So it'd be about the 55th year.
ooh, nice. So y'all already know what it is. As you know, with the ECE Disruptors group, what we always talk about is respectfully disrupting the norms of what happens in the ECE community. And one of the things that brought Dr. Gullen and I together is workforce development. That's one of my, I don't want to say favorite topics, but I want to say that most impact that I've had in my career has been in workforce development. So yeah, so it's definitely, with my company, LC Workforce Solutions, just really thinking about how to help the community of ECE. And, when I was in workforce development, working with so many different businesses, it was so easy for me to put my crosshairs on childcare because I was a mom. Well, I'm still a mom, but I mean, like when I was working heavy in it, I was a younger mom, meaning my kids were younger. So my stake in the industry was a lot deeper than any other job developer because it wasn't just somebody's kid. You know what I mean? I saw all of those kids as my kids, and what I would want someone who was vetting people for that position to think about beyond the resume, the tangible items and things like that. So go ahead. What were you saying?
So, LaToya, today what I would appreciate is if we could focus on, first of all, I hope we've got some people joining us who are following us and looking at what we're offering. Um, to build on at our last uh, conversation, you talked about the beginning steps that you used to support. At that time, I was a leader in an early childhood education organization in Washington, D.C., and we had an administrative assistant position open, and it was a significant position because the site was about to move into a temporary site. And you described how you came, which impressed me because no other workforce development program that I'd talked to did this. You came and you looked at our environment, you looked at the culture, you looked at how our operations, and then you talked about you worked with the client and to remind people these are individuals who were on the road to financial self sufficiency. So they were coming off of government support, some of them 100%, and some of them less than the 100%. But they came, and I say this respectfully, they came with baggage.
Yeah.
Uh, and and the last thing you mentioned that I'd like you to go deeper, for us to go deeper into, was that you mentioned the step where you got the person to tell you about their personal story. And I'd like you in the next 10 minutes to describe for us what did that look like? Why did you do it? And how did you use it?
Hmm. That's a good question, Dr. Gillen. I mean, one of the things with me, I'm a storyteller myself. And when I was working in workforce development, I realized that the programs that they have, like you said, these workforce vendors, they're all government. So they're very generic. They don't really add in the language about the care piece, about who they are. It's numbers, 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 numbers. And when you're dealing with people, anywhere you go, it's gonna be that underlying layer. So when it comes to the story, what I would sit, and this is the interesting thing, Dr. Gullen, is that I had to have a, what do you call it, a fiduciary relationship with the employers and with the candidates, because I needed to know both sides, because I considered myself a job lawyer. And what I would tell people is, hey, tell me the real deal. I'm not the interviewer. I'm not the company that you're talking to. I need to know your real story so we can figure out what we're going to say to them. You know what I mean? Because my job is like an editor. If you're writing a book, I'm going to pull out the highlights. I'm going to pull out the strengths. I'm going to teach you how to create the language surrounding what you really did. Because a lot of people, that's the thing. You don't really know how to describe what your strengths are. And some people don't even know what their strengths are. So me getting to know them as a person, it took me to actually give them a piece of me too. I couldn't just stand there back here and then you giving all yourself and I'm standing here. So I had to become vulnerable myself. I had to be able to show them that you can let the guard down. I'm a safe space because I'm not the person that's going to hire you. I'm the person that I need to make sure I get the correct information that you're going to need. So I honestly, Dr. Gillen, I treated it like a dating, like dating. Like if this was, two friends that I'm going to put together, and I'm going to set them up on a blind date. But if you're doing that with people, what do you have to know? You have to know their backstory. You got to know where they're coming from so you know what their goals are and if they're a match, right? And that means you got to prepare, just like you prepare for a date. And this is what I used to tell them, like, just think of it as you're trying to get a date. And I talk about the traditional way of getting a job, um, in parallel to the traditional way of getting a date. Back in the days, you could walk up to a person and say, "Hi, my name's LaToya. I couldn't help, noticing your blue coat or whatever. I don't know." You can actually do that. Same thing with a job. Back in the days, they would have a help wanted sign in the window. You can go in and say, "Hey, I see you need help. I'm here for the job." And they say, "Well, can you work this day and that day? Yeah. Can you do this, that, and third? Yeah, you're hired." They throw you an apron, right? That's how easy it was. Same thing with a date. You can say, "Hi, great smile. Can we go out for coffee at 8?" And sure, right? Now you got to go online. So it's that separation. Same thing with a date. Most people are going online to meet people. So there's a lot of separation. There's steps to it. You know what I mean? So that anxiety is there in a different way. So when you have somebody there to kind of sit with you and help you to go through inventory what you can bring to the table, which was a system that I created called Finding Your Natural Gifts. And what I would tell people is when you tell me about who you are for real, that's when I can hear your natural gifts. And then I said, have you ever thought about doing this? And how they react to those questions would help me to understand what they're more susceptible to. So helping employers the same way. What are your pain points? Like I would get down to the nitty gritty of what are you really looking for? And people will give me a list of requirements and qualifications. And I'm like, I could see that on your website. Tell me the real deal. What are you really looking for? What kind of duds have you got in the past? What are some things that you've scorned by? And I'm telling you, Dr. Gunnar, like when I ask the real questions, I get the real answers. Employers be like, "Well, I don't want nobody coming here smelling like weed. I don't want nobody with no purple hair. I don't want nobody being late every day." And when I ask them what their values are, what's really important to them on an employer side, they tell me because nobody ever asks them. They just say, what do they have to have? Do they have to have CDA? Do they have to just, I want to know what type of environment you have. Like you said, I want to know what the culture's like because personality types and different personality types, they mesh different. Same thing on a date. You know what I mean? So I definitely keep it with the same parallel to something that you would normally do in your life and help people to understand it in that way. So when it comes to telling the story, it really helps to help the person know what's right for them. Because think about it, people work at jobs every day that they hate every day. And why is that? Because they don't have permission. They don't have permission to look for a position, not a job, but a position that allows them to share their natural gifts. And that's when you're going to be fulfilled. That's when you're going to do great work. That's when you're going to stay late because you love it. You know what I mean? That's when you're going to stick around because you feel valued. Because when you're good at something, people are going to tell you, "Oh my gosh, this is so great." And when you're doing, it's a victory, it's a win. It's not almost, it's a dopamine hit that people crave. And I feel like that's why getting the story counts from both parties. And when it came down to with you, Dr. Gellin, you telling me the background of the company. Now, the company I had already worked with, but in a different capacity. I was more of a referral partner for the CDA program. So it was more or less of, is this your career path, what you want to do? You don't have to work there. You could go to school and do what you do after that. But when it comes down to the actual creating a position, the commitment of staying there, that's a whole nother ball game. And then those hard to fill positions, you really got to know a person's story to know.
So, LaToya, in the next, we have 5 minutes. Let's zero in on the experience we shared together. So it
Okay.
was, as I said, for an administrative assistant for an infant toddler center, about 30 children. The situation was that that center was next to um, a building that was going to be constructed by the DC government. And because of the concern of the mayor and the deputy mayor, actually, for children, youth, and families, they came to my colleague, the owner, and said, "We want you to move, and we'll be a partner in that move because we're concerned it's going to be an active work, I mean, construction zone, and we don't want any problems with the children." So the challenge was to find an assistant who could support the director. We were going to move from um, the current site actually into a vacant school,
Mm.
which was a whole different ballgame. And of course, this was in the most under-resourced area of Washington, D.C. Okay, so let's just in the next 3 minutes back to, so I gave you all the information. Uh, I'll let go of my humility. I gave you everything you wanted. You were blown away with this man really knows what he's talking about. And it wasn't just me, it was the director because I was mentoring her, so she was watching what was going on. What did you do with what I said in order to get us to the what did you do with next with what I said? So how did you go about briefly deciding who in your Rolodex of candidates would be a fit for the job?
Well, I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, but as soon as you told me about it, I already knew who I had in the bag for you.
How did you know?
Because I know my people, and that's what it takes. Like,
LaToya, what I want to do is
how did I?
we
Okay,
got
let me
2 minutes.
try to get
How
to
did
that
you
answer because I'm like,
know? Let's drill it down. How did you know it was that person?
well, I'm in my head, I matched up your pain points. You told me what you were looking for, and you told me the backstory of what the position is and why it was so hard to fill and what you guys wanted to do next. You let me know that this was not something that you wanted to be temporary. You wanted somebody that can come in quick, but really, mesh well and be a long-lasting employee that could grow with the company. So those are the things that make me my wheels start turning. And in my head, like I said, I had already talked to someone that I've been working with for like a year who was in school for the same thing, who had expressed to me her background and the things that triggered her that made her even want to be in this industry. And she also told me about her hopes and dreams in the future of what she wanted, like how she wanted to make an impact on the community. And what I heard was that while you were talking, I'm just it's going right to this one girl. I'm like, wow, she said this. Wow, she said this. And she's super serious. And I'm thinking about her performance and the program, how she shows up, her dedication, all of those things. You know what I mean? And that's why I was like, this is her. This is her. He's when you see, remember, you were like, well, I was like, I think, and I told you, I think in that same conversation, I said, I already got somebody for you. He was like, well, I want to see quite a few people so I can choose to. I was like, all right. If you, my point to employers, just you alike, was I am not a magic maker. If it's hard for you to find it, of course it's going to be hard for me to find it. So don't expect me to come up with 10. You lucky if I find one. So when I find one, I know I'm not gonna. If I don't have anybody, I'm not gonna Hail Mary. I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna keep looking. But if I know I have somebody that is checking all the boxes, now you got to tell me why you don't want them. Now it's on you to tell me why, because I know I hit the boxes, and it's not just the tangible things though. That's why I had to come and visit. I had to come and visit the facility. I had to meet people. I had to smell it. I had to feel what the vibes are and then people's personality. And in DC, we have so many strong personalities, all of them in one room. Yeah, I'm taking cover. So those are things I had to take care to actually like a matching, like a date. The temperament has to match, the environment has to match, the location. So, because I look at my people as my people, meaning like I want to make sure you can get to work. I want to make sure the commute is not too crazy. That there's a bus stop nearby. Whatever it is that you told me your needs were or your challenges were in the past, I'm taking that into consideration. And now what that does is it cuts a lot of the fat out, y'all. Like meaning that you can't play around. I didn't take long to eliminate something. And I never spared the expense, meaning that I don't play around. If I don't have nobody, I don't have nobody. I don't try to fit a square peg into a round hole. I'm very honest with my employers and I'm honest with my candidates also. So that's the difference I feel, Robert, just taking the care. And one of the things that I would do with new employers is I would go ahead of them before I even booked anything. One, to make sure it's a legit business because I've been burned, obviously. When you're a new the job developer, you're so excited to work with people, you're not really looking into everything they're doing. And you could be sending somebody into something crazy. That happened to me once. I set somebody in for a job interview and it was supposed to be a marketing job. Do you know they took them to the mall and made them sell bootleg perfumes? Yes, and then the cops came and they told them to run. You know how embarrassing that is? And the person is like, "That's LaToya, what did you send me to?" So that was a learning experience, but it helped me to know to care about the people. I'm not just sending you out into the abyss. And I like to have the candidates vet the employers just as much as they're being vetted. And that's how you really make a great connection because everybody knows what's up and everybody is here for the same reasons. And there's no confusion, you know? So, I
So
mean, that was just
I could listen to you, LaToya, but unfortunately,
yeah, we gotta
we
go.
got to close it out. And I want to close it out by offering what sticks out to me was the young lady that you said was it, and we did hire, eventually wanted to start her own nonprofit organization. And
Yeah,
so we knew that up front and were committed to develop a professional development plan for her and her exit into what her dream was. So she knew from the beginning this wasn't a dead end job.
yeah,
And for the next time we have a conversation, I'd like to focus on you're describing, because I remember it vividly, what you did once the young lady was hired, the follow-up with the
Okay.
individual and the support that you offered to that individual. So, as usual, I hate to break it off, but I am learning discipline. And Thank you, LaToya. I hope that people that view this realize what I realized within 5 minutes of meeting you. You are incredibly talented. I absolutely believe that we are attacking with a solution in mind the staffing crisis in early childhood education, but we're going to present it in what I experienced with you with a model that you created that that's the most successful one that I've saw in our work together. So thank you.
Thank you. And so we'll kick off the next week with that follow-up piece. And I can't wait to talk about that because that changed everything for my program. So yeah, I mean, I would be excited to talk about that. So guys, we'll catch us next week. All right, we'll be live on Friday morning and coming on in. And if you want to come in and be a part of the panel, just let us know. Go ahead and DM us and make sure you are connected and actually a part of our Facebook group, the ECE Disruptors group. Okay. We'll see you next week. Bye, guys.